Apparently, the CEO of Brewdog is starting his own new economic game show. I wonder what that's going to be like.
Let's start with the show itself, House of Unicorns. This is Dragon's Den-ish, but with a twist. What's the twist?
Well, firstly, I think that most business TV shows in the UK are about 20 years out of date, and they don't portray the entrepreneur, the founder, in an intelligent or insightful way at all. So I want to create a better business TV show, one that's a better platform for the founders, for people building business, but one that lets the audience participate. So with a show...
My God, right? He looked at the business TV shows that the country produces, right? May I remind everybody, the most famous one of these is The Apprentice. And he goes, well, the problem with our business TV shows, they don't talk about the founders enough. They don't do great man theory enough. Not that great man theory doesn't pervade all of our economic discourse. All of the talk about economics in general in our society is plagued by people talking about fucking great man theory. No. How about we do a TV show about business and I'm the big focus? It's all about me. Me. I'm the big guy. I am the founder, therefore I'm the successful one. Let's all talk about me for a second. Dear God.
Show like Dragon's Den, you get to watch the dragons, invest their money, you don't participate in the decision and you don't participate in investment. With House of Unicorns, the viewer is able to vote and help decide who gets the investment money, and then they're allowed to invest in the companies pound for pound in the same deals at the same valuation as I invest in. So the audience not only help us pick the winners, they can put their money into those companies as well.
Okay, so it's Dragon's Den, but with a phone vote. My God. Oh my God. Right. Chat. This is so easy to game because no one's going to watch this dross. No one's going to watch it at all. So we can just get me in. I'll go in, having done like 3 videos now about how much I think this guy's a bellend. I'll go in and say I've got an idea for a business. It's about a left-wing YouTube show where we talk crap about CEOs and journalists. And then we'll just get everybody we know to call in to vote for me. And then he has to give me money to talk about how much of a bellend I think he is. Now that's praxis. Dragon's Den teleshopping. Is that what he's proposing here? Apparently so.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So you will do the picking, or the audience will have a say, and then they can also invest in it in the way that they can't do on Dragon's Den when Peter Jones says, right, here's 250 grand.
Exactly. So we start off with 10 companies, we take them down to 3 companies, the audience then help us decide who gets the investment, then the audience can put their money into those businesses as well.
And I see that you are going to personally invest.
So you have to get down to the final 3. Oh, that's sad, isn't it? I mean, that means he definitely won't pick the person who's been using their platform to talk shit about him.
£1 million of your own money into the chosen winner, is that right?
Yes, I'm putting my money where my mouth is here. I want to help kickstart the UK economy. I want to help create jobs. I want to back an amazing founder and an amazing business. So the people watching the show not only can invest their money in the companies, they can invest their money pound for pound alongside my own money as well.
So what he means is he wants to make a return. I'm so sick of capitalists doing this, where they'll say, well, I want to invest in this economy because I believe in the economy. I want to support people. No, just call it what it is, mate. Stop trying to humanize your objectivist instincts towards personal gain. Stop trying to pretend that it's all done in humanist principles. It's all being done because you're so benevolent and you want to build these things for society. Just admit that it's because you want to make a return on your investment, because that's how capitalism works.
Well, your business success speaks for itself. I guess what a lot of people might hear, though, when you talk about I'm going to put in £1 million of my own money, is this investing it's just for wealthy people. It's for wealthy people to make more money. It's not for me.
But what we're doing with House of Unicorns, people's going to be able to invest from 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds. So it doesn't matter how much you want to invest. There's an opportunity to be involved in that with House of Unicorns. And watching other business TV shows, you just don't get an opportunity to shape the outcome or an opportunity to invest in those businesses as well.
Do you think that is an attitude that proliferates, that this is only for rich people? The reality is this is the best way for some people of making passive income starting with 10 quid or 20 quid.
I don't know about you, chat. I don't really think that there's a market for potential budding private equity retail investors in startup companies. I don't think there's a mass market for this. And I love here that the justification for this is essentially just, would you like to gamble your money on this, on the potential of gaining passive income down the line? How about you get a job and do some work? Just a thought.
Yeah, I think anyone should look at kind of how they want to look after their savings. Is it a bank account? Is it kind of publicly traded stocks? Is it some kind of private kind of venture capital style investments like these? And I would advocate a kind of blend of that in any instance. And usually investments like this historically are not open to the general public. They're only for kind of VCs or high net worths. So we want to kind of make these opportunities accessible to everyone. And if they want to be part of it, that would be amazing.
So what he is doing, he's just rebuilding like the Thatcherite shareholder democracy. And that didn't last very long, did it? The nation of shareholder stuff, not that it was a good idea to start with anyway, but even what was good about it that people genuinely liked, that lasted no time at all, did it? And then in the end of the day, all of those companies became majority shareholder owned by big VC firms. Like he said, the nature of competition is that the little guy gets bought out by the big guy. That's how capitalism works. Welcome to open markets. I thought he'd know this. He's the big capitalist, isn't he? If we actually wanted to put shares in the hands of people who matter, how about the people doing the actual work? The people in the companies, i.e. the actual workers who produce the commodities.
You found yourself in a little bit of hot water a little earlier because you described Britain as one of the least work-oriented countries. Is that you saying that Britain is lazy?
But it wasn't actually myself that described that. I quoted a study by King's College London Policy Institute that found out of the 24 countries they studied that the UK was the least work focused.
Right.
And you've just got to compare the data. We are 18% less productive than Americans, and we are 13% less productive than the French. And we joke about the French being lazy. So this is not my view. This is a view that's backed up by data.
Productivity is a problem of lack of investment. We are unproductive. We have been stagnating on production in this country because we haven't had investment because of austerity. That's the problem. You're blaming a bunch of workers for the failure of state macro policy. Because of course he is. Because as a CEO, he thinks everybody else is to blame. And the state policy cannot have an effect on productivity. And it's just the naturally unproductive British workforce that are the problem here. And we're just lazy, even though being unproductive doesn't necessarily mean you're lazy. Again, it's a lack of investment here. And even then, work-focused isn't necessarily a measure of laziness either. You can be incredibly studious at working when you're working your 37.5 hours a week under the Working Time Directive. And then as soon as you get out of work, you turn off, because of course you should have the right to turn off of your work. Whereas people in America are out there putting their nose to the grindstone every day, 60 hours a week, and being forced to think about it on their days off with no fucking holiday pay. Like, being work-orientated is not the same as being hard-working. Those are two different things. Don't we work the most hours in Europe? I'd need to check up on that stat. We do work a lot in this country, but the overall level of productivity, which is the amount of produced per hour worked, is lower. And again, that's a problem of lack of investment from the state because of austerity.
Is that your experience?
I work across businesses across the UK and the US, and I definitely find there's a bit more hunger, a bit more tenacity, a bit more drive in the US work ethic today compared to that of the UK.
And why do you think that is?
It's a great question, and like, we want to live in a fantastic society with fantastic services, and that comes from taxes. And productivity is directly linked to the prosperity of a nation. And for me, if it's an individual, if it's a sports team, if it's a business, if it's a nation, like, hard work is the foundation of everything. It's very hard to achieve something meaningful.
You could say, chat, that work sets you free. No, I wouldn't say that. That'd be a bad thing to say. But it does sound a lot like what he's saying.
Remarkable without hard work. So I'm not sure why the kind of UK's relationship to work is what it is, but I think it's got a direct impact on economic prosperity and the standard of living for every family in the UK.
But you don't think it's because we're an inherently lazy bunch?
No, and there's millions and millions of people in the UK who work incredibly hard, and like, I see that firsthand every single day. But if you kind of take a step back and look at the data, we're not working as hard as other nations, and that's going to mean we don't have the same ability to invest in our future, in our.
And again, he's still not provided evidence of us not working as hard. He said we are less productive, but that, again, could be a consequence of many, many, many things. And to be honest, personally, I think it's mostly due to the fact that we have cut investment from the state out of our public realm in terms of things like schools and hospitals and all these different things that make up the public realm, that make people productive, investment in new technologies and development coming from the state. Like, these things have been a complete dearth of because of all the stripping back of state policy. within the Conservative austerity administration under George Osborne. That's when the stagnation in productivity started, when austerity happened. We have been sick, we've been very sick, but that doesn't mean we're lazy. Greece is the highest in the EU at 41.7 hours on average. UK is at 42 hours average, but we have lower productivity than countries with fewer working hours. Well, there you go, that's the problem, yeah. And again, like, of all the people to be saying, well, everybody else in this country is lazy, much more so than other countries, when he doesn't have a real job. He just sits on his ass collecting shareholder royalties and dividends. That's not the same as doing actual work. There's a reason why he gets to say, well, we should have a work-life integration, because he hasn't got a fucking real job. He doesn't do any real work. I should know. I don't either. Takes one to know one.
Public services and then building the society that we want to have in the UK.
There are other bosses. I mean, I look at the former boss of M&S and Asda, Stuart Rose, who say perhaps that part of the reason for that is working from home. He describes it as not proper work. Yeah. What's your view?
Well, turns out that person's speaking bollocks, because scientific studies, peer-reviewed studies, have shown that working from home increases productivity. And also, we didn't just magically start working from home in 2010 when all of the productivity stagnation happened. There was no marketable, drop in productivity overall that was any different to that plateauing of productivity from 2010 until now that specifically happened when we started working from home more often. Again, they keep talking about this. It goes back to that debate from the BBC panel from yesterday about working from home, where they just pretended that they knew what the data said because of what they reckon. I reckon working from home is less productive, even though the studies show that the opposite is true.
My view on this is quite nuanced. So I think there's some teams, some companies where working from home is fantastic. I've actually got a business of my own, Social Tech. We've got a team of 12 and that team works from home. But I think working from home needs to be intentional and needs to be hardwired into a company's DNA and culture from day one. Where I think a lot of businesses are struggling at the moment is they weren't set up to work from home. They put that in place from COVID and they're not able to move at the same speed, be quite as dynamic, innovate quite so much. So if a company's doing
Oh my god, it's just buzzwords. It needs to be integrated into the company's DNA. They're not being dynamic enough. This is meaningless. This is totally meaningless. This means absolutely nothing. Please go away.
Intentionally, I think is amazing. If a company is doing it as a reaction to COVID and what happened then, I think it can be more difficult for the company to get its speed, its pace, and its tenacity back.
Because people are able to open their laptop at 10:30 in the morning, close it at 4:30 in the afternoon, kind of not get away with it, but, quiet quitting has become a thing, I guess.
Oh, there's no evidence for this, Tom! Cite data, get some studies, stop pretending and guessing. Oh my god, useless. This man was an advisor to Theresa May, by the way. Can you believe such a thing? Imagine this guy being an advisor to Theresa May, of all people. It's scarcely believable that someone this boring, someone this out of touch with, any of the actual peer-reviewed data on any of these issues, might have been an advisor to Theresa May. Really is a shocker, isn't it?
I mean, for me, it's not so much that. And like I said, I've got a team of 12 people who work in a business and we work from home. So it's not about when people start work and when people stop work. It's just some companies, the value of face-to-face collaboration when it comes to innovating, when it comes to disrupting, the value of having people in a shared space every single day for some companies is so fundamental to what they do and kind of being able to move at pace that I think it's difficult for them to adjust to remote working. It's more about that connection, that conversation, people working together towards a common goal as opposed to when somebody starts and stops working.
Do you think part of the lack of hard work compared to other countries in this country is because people don't see an end goal? They see people like yourself who have made a business and you're now a very wealthy person who say, just work harder, everybody, work harder. And they say, well, just because you're a millionaire or whatever, you don't get to tell us what to do. We're working in a job that doesn't pay very well and that's all we're ever going to be able to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had this work ethic when I was living in my dad's spare room, not paying myself when I was kind of 29 years old, when I was working in the fishing boats. I've just always kind of believed in the value of hard work, but everyone gets to decide what is best for them. So I kind of shared my perspective on hard work, work-life balance. But the beauty of the thing here is people can decide what's important for them, what their objectives are, and then build the life that they want. But there's something about the phrase work-life balance that I don't love. And that implies that it's kind of good and bad to be balanced out. And you've got to balance out the bad, which is work, with the good, which is life. For me.
Yes. Again, what I said on the very first video, most people don't like their jobs. Lots of jobs in society are not fun. They're not interesting. They are not something that you want to do, but you do, A, because it's necessary for you, because you need to be able to earn money to live, or because you feel that it is necessary to do to keep society functioning and you value that contribution. Nobody is doing refuse collection because they feel like it's personally edifying. No one is doing delivery drives for Amazon because it's part of their dream aspirations about where they want to be in life. No one is working in a customer service call center as part of some grand vocation. They're doing it because they need to get paid. And so, of course, they want to balance their life, which is something they want to do, with working in a customer service call center, which is something they have to do. Yes, they are balancing the bad with the good. Just because your job involves having board meetings and fiddling around on your laptop in Starbucks, where it's absolutely very easy to be able to mesh your life and your work together because they're basically one and the same. And it's not the same for people who do really grueling, awful jobs that are not something that can be so seamlessly integrated into one's actual life.
Regardless of what you do, the more fulfilling you can find your work, the deeper connections you can foster, the kind of more that plays into your human experience. It can just enrich your life overall. So
Oh my god, just shut the fuck up. Just shut up. Shut up and go away. Oh my god, again, it's just nonsense. What do you think we can all just become Brewdog CEOs? Do you think that everybody in the country can just get up tomorrow and train as a management consultant and can suddenly find fulfilling work? Well, no, of course they can't. Who's gonna empty the bins? Who's gonna clean the streets? Who's gonna be delivering for Deliveroo? Who's going to do all of these things if we're all management consultants, James? This wishy-washy nonsense about, oh, just achieve your dreams, man. Just achieve your dreams. Just get there through perseverance and try and build a career that you love. Not an option for most of us.
I think work-life balance, a phrase, makes us think that, well, the work part of that is inherently bad, but why can't both parts be good? And then you can just kind of use that to kind of build the life that you want.
Do you think there's a bit of an attitude in this country, rather more so than in America, that says someone like you is disliked because you are wealthy, much less than you are celebrated, or your success is looked at as something to learn from because of the hard work you've put into a business? You're a bad person because you've leeched off others to do hard work for you, and you've creamed the money off the top.
Well, first, Tom talks about alienation and people not feeling like they have any actual connection to the work that they do, and that's why they don't feel the value of it. Next, he's trying to have a go at James Watt for creaming other people's surplus value. I think you might be onto something there, Tom. I think you might be onto that. The based Marxism pill that Tom has been taking. Don't know what's happened to him. Because it's basically true. That's what James does. His value that he takes out as a shareholder is the surplus value that's generated by the people who do the actual work within the company.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there between the kind of UK and US differences. And like I say, I spend a lot of time in the US. And in the US, if someone's successful, you find people cheering them on, you find people celebrating that success because they're so inculcated with American dream is.
I do celebrate people's successes. I celebrate successes that people have across the world. There are plenty of successes that are worth celebrating. People who break through with scientific discovery, people who achieve great things in the world of sport or of entertainment, or who invent certain brilliant things. People who go out there and who do things to make the world a better place, who build up the social fabric of our country. Success, but I don't celebrate, is just making money for the sake of making money. That's not success to me. People always come back to me and say, well, if you had the opportunity to be as rich as these people, then you'd do it. No, I wouldn't. Not through the methods that they are using. I would not want to do that. No. Or you'd be a landlord as well, with the free money, the passive income. I really fucking wouldn't. I genuinely really wouldn't. I want to be successful by leaving the world better than how I found it. I don't want to be successful by stealing other people's surplus value off the top. Exactly, most people want to be comfortable, not rich. It's so true. America celebrates successful people like Elon Musk, who just did a Nazi salute in front of the entire world. Exactly, It's just the same great man theory bullshit. Hate it, I really do.
They're thinking, oh, that could be me. I can do that. Whereas in the UK, we don't have that. So there tends to be a kind of inbuilt cynicism, bitterness, sometimes kind of resentment towards people who are successful because people don't believe they can go out and kind of do that themselves. And I think there's a big difference in the attitude towards successful people in business in the US versus the UK.
How would you change that? If you could do one thing to try and change that attitude, what would you do? Nicer work environments, more money flowing down the tree?
Yeah, for me, like the people.
Pay a living wage. Pay the real living wage that you stopped doing at Brewdog. Maybe pay people the surplus value that they generate rather than keeping it for yourself. Just a little tip from me to you, James.
People in the UK that create the jobs, that build the businesses, that create economic well-being for the country, that pay a disproportionately high percentage for tax.
A disproportionately high percentage of taxation. It's called redistribution. It's called redistribution. You have the broader shoulders, you pay more fucking tax. And even then, you don't create jobs. Demand creates jobs. He's literally throwing a tantrum because we're not stroking his ego and we're calling him the parasite that he is. Yeah, exactly.
This is just so, so important. And if we take a step back, more millionaires are leaving the UK now than ever before. This is...
You literally were just saying, oh, well, we pay proportionally more tax. Literally, the millionaires are leaving because they were previously non-domiciled for tax purposes, so they weren't paying any fucking tax. And they're now leaving to not pay tax elsewhere. Well, by all means, they can fuck off then. Don't need you. Weren't paying tax already. Why don't you poodle off to somewhere where you're going to pay no tax there either?
30 millionaires every single day leaving our country. And these are the people that drive economic opportunity. Like I said, they pay.
But I thought you were just saying that the people who have the economic opportunity is in your own hands. I thought economic opportunity was in the hands of anybody who wanted to work hard for it. Well, now apparently, actually, economic opportunity is created by the grace of the millionaires. The millionaires grace our society with the jobs that they create and the stability and the economic well-being that they spread forth through their benevolence to the plebs. To the proletariat, they have graced the proletariat with jobs, economic growth, and economic well-being. How dare you spurn them by threatening to actually tax them at the rate that they should be, or by treating the fact that they have got pockets full of other people's unpaid wages, which they, like he did, deliberately cut down to be below the real living wage, so that he can maximise his own value. The benevolent millionaire, just doing things for the good of the country, and not indeed because it is going to generate a return for them on their speculation.
A disproportionate high share of tax, so the more friendly we can make the UK to people who are putting everything in the line for what they believe in, who are building businesses, who are creating jobs, I think the better society we can build here overall.
Do you think the government can run a successful economy if the people in the government, at the top of the government, have never run a business?
I think it's a massive failing in the UK. If you look at the UK Secretary for Business, he's never worked in a business, let alone ran a business. And if you look at the Secretary for Commerce in the US, they've got a huge amount of business experience. I definitely think it's an issue with the current government.
The problem with the current government, it's not got enough oligarchs in it. The problem with the current government, not enough billionaires and millionaires. We have put our country in the hands of business tyrants since time immemorial. Ever since 1979, we've had business tyrants over and over and over again. Maybe somebody who actually remembers what it's like to do a real job, who represents labour rather than capital. Maybe it's time that we actually had that. Not that the current government represents labour at all, because it's labour in name only. But maybe actually, no, maybe business people aren't the right people to run in the country, because they don't do what's good for working people. They do what's good for other business people.
Lack of business experience they've got, and I think we're seeing that in some of the decisions they're making, which are tough for business, tough for job creation, and tough for us trying to build our economy.
Yeah, it's really tough to be able to build a business and to have workers to be able to employ if they're all too sick to work because the NHS is underfunded. I'm sure we have loads of very skilled workers for the jobs that you've created, because that's what you've deigned to do as the benevolent millionaire that you are. I'm sure we'll have loads of people to do those jobs who don't have any education because we've not spent on any money on education in this country, and they're too sick because there's no healthcare, and they are too depressed to work because they have not had the social infrastructure spending on parks and recreation and on amenities, on youth centres, community centres, living libraries and swimming pools that will cut under the Conservative government. But I'm sure the fact that the Business and Trade Secretary went to a state school and hasn't owned a business, I'm sure that's the real problem here. Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for memberships. It's just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.